In this tutorial, we're going to take your last MP4 you rendered out of the girl being struck by lightning, and we're going to make a new project in After Effects where we're going to be adding rain, we're going to be adding puddles, so we're going to make color adjustments, okay? So let's get started, okay? So I'm going to go File, a New Project. We'll need to save that one. I'm going to bring my timeline indicators in my timeline and my layers up a little bit here, and then I'm going to go to New Composition. And I actually had renamed the file because when I rendered it rendered out as New Sky 1. And you can change the name of your MP4s. However, if you're using your MP4 within a After Effects project, After Effects will not recognize it anymore. So I changed this beforehand to Lightning. Okay, you don't have to change the name of yours if you don't want to, but if you are going to change your name, make sure you do it before you start working on this. Okay, so let's click Open. And the first thing we're going to be doing to this is we're going to add rain. Okay, so we're going to make a new adjustment layer. So make sure you're on your layer, and then we're going to click on New, and we're going to make a new adjustment layer. Okay, and then we're going to look under Effect, and we're going to look for Simulate Rainfall. Now, if we play this, you can see it's raining quite heavily. Okay. So we're going to need to make some changes to our rain here. And let's stop that for a moment. Actually, we can kind of let it play out as we're doing this. So first thing, and as it's playing out, I'm just going to lower the amount of drops that are coming down because it's raining too heavily for the scene that's happening. Even though there's lightning involved, there's just too much rain, and we're going to change the size of our drops just a little bit, bring them down a little bit. That really helps tremendously, okay? We can even lower the speed at which they're falling. And the main thing that I look for is, I always point out, and let's let this cycle around one more time, is if you look at her hair has a little too much body for the amount of rain that was coming down before. So that's why we are having to lower all this stuff so that actually this looks a lot more realistic. Wind. If we go over here to wind, we can actually adjust it so that the rain is coming down at an angle. Okay? And that looks a lot better. And there's so many other things we could play around with as far as opacity, even color, depending upon what kind of background it is. But I think most of this stuff works very well. The other thing I want to do to it is I want to add another effect to this layer. And we'll go and add, let's see here, we'll do a Gaussian blur. Okay? And we're looking for, blur, Gaussian blur. Okay? We don't need to add much, but we're just going to blur this just slightly. And that looks, and like I said, if we up it more, you can see how much more it blurs everything. But I'm just blurring, and because this adjustment layer is also adjusting what's below there, I'm just blurring things just a little bit, not much. Okay, there we go. So that's good. The next thing I want to do is I want to go and make another effects layer. So we're going to go to Layer, New adjustment layer, that is, okay? And so on this one, we're going to change the color. And we're going to do that by going to Effect. We're going to go to Color Correction. And this time we're going to use something called Lumetri Color, okay? And under Lumetri Color, let's see, I think we got to go to Creative. There we go. And we're going to change None. We're going to click on where it says None. It says Look. We're going to go and we're going to scroll down here. We've got all these options. You can play around with these. But we're going to use SL Matrix Blue. And that's going to change the look of our video so much, okay? I'm also going to up where it says faded film. I'm going to scroll this so it makes it look a little bit more faded there. I don't know if my thing had been hanging there. I see my lightning bolt's been hanging there for a while. That's okay. I'm just going to live with that. I don't know why I didn't see it before. But anyway, I like to find, I have a tendency to find my mistakes in the middle of these tutorials. We're going to lower the saturation a little bit too. And that's going to make it look a lot better. Yeah, that's bugging the crap out of me. What I need to do is, if I'm going to fix that, is go back to my last After Effects file, change that lightning, and then render out the video again. But I'm not going to do that for this tutorial. I apologize. So anyway, let's continue on here. Okay, and what we're going to do next is we're going to make a puddle. Reflections, okay? And so in order to do that, we're going to select these three here, and we're going to these three layers, hold down the shift key, select them all, and then we're going to right click, and we're going to actually just duplicate. We don't need to right click. I apologize about that. We're going to do Command D, okay? And that will make a duplicate. Now we're going to right click one of them, keep them all selected, and then we're going to pre-compose. And we're going to call this reflection. Okay. All right. Now, with this pre-composed one, what we're going to be doing is, with reflection, is we're going to go to Layer, and then we're going to look for Transform, and we're going to flip vertically. So it flips like that, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to right-click the reflection layer. We're going to look for a blending mode that is set to, we can do Overlay. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to right-click again on the layer, and we're going to, actually, you know what? We don't need to right-click. We're just going to hit the T key, because I'm going to just lower the opacity a little bit on this. Okay, like that. And we could raise it just a little bit more. The reason why is we want to see through this. This will be a reflection. And we could play around with how opaque this is. It just looks so dark on my screen. I need to play around with my adjustment layer probably a little bit more. But anyway, what I'm going to do is on this reflection layer, we keep it selected, and we're going to get the pen tool, and we're going to make a mask. Now, you have to have that layer selected in order to make a mask, okay? Because otherwise, if you don't have any layer selected, then you're just going to be drawing a shape. And we're going to draw out a shape of this sidewalk. So now it's masked out, okay? Now, it looks kind of like a pool of water, but what we're going to do is we're going to draw another shape here. So we're not deselecting, and we're not going to a new layer. We're just going to click, and we're going to make a puddle shape. And the way I'm doing this is I clicked the second time, but I held down my mouse button, and I'm pulling out, and then it gets a Bezier curve. We'll make another point and pull out. I'm going to come over here, make another point and pull out. And, you know, this is just like working in Illustrator, okay? And we might want to round that off there. Now let's go up under our mask here in this layer. And for this second mask, we're going to change that to intersect. And voila, we have a puddle, okay? And so this is going to look much, much more realistic if we go up under our mask here, and if we feather this. So all I did was I clicked on this little arrow here for my mask, and we're going to increase the feather amount a little bit. Increase it a little bit more here. Okay, we can click off of it under Shift Command A just to see what it looks like. And that looks really nice. Now I'm going to click back on my layer here again. Still have my pen tool. And we're going to make a couple more puddles here. We're going to make one back here. It doesn't matter what the shape is. We're just going to play around with it. We can also change them later after we've finished them. So that makes another puddle there. We can go up under this one and we'll feather just a little bit. Okay. Now if you feather them too much, they look a little unusual. We're going to make another one back here. Okay, and we'll go and feather that one. We'll close this one up. So mask 4 here. And we're going to deselect, Shift Command A, and just take a look at these. They don't look half bad, you know, and let's zoom in here. And let's see if we can alter any of these. So this one, you know, we could always go in here and play around with its shape to improve it if we want to, okay? You don't have to be too picky with this. I'm just playing around to make it look the best I can. All right. Now, let me deselect off of this. And now the problem is this. If we play this, I'm just going to let it play out there. They're not looking bad. I'm going to let it cycle through one time. I'm still, that little hook of a lightning bolt's bugging me, but I'm just going to leave it be. My explosion I'm really happy with. There we go. Okay. And the puddles look good. And again, let's just, like I said, bear with me as this is rendering this out and playing. Okay, so they kind of move a little bit. And that's the reason why is because the camera moves. So what I'm going to do in order to have them move with the sidewalk and the camera is I'm going to do some 3D mapping again, okay? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to go down to our first layer with the video, okay? We're going to click on that, and then we're going to go to Animation, Track Camera. And remember, it's initializing, so this takes a moment, as this is going to create a 3D, all those little points there. Now, we're going to do something a little different this time, so we won't have to worry about trying to get it in perspective as far as our shape that we're not even going to make a shape. We're going to make a null shape, okay? And I'll explain that in just a moment here as this is working out. And it's counting down here. Almost done. Solving the camera. Okay, now it's got these in here. So now what we're going to do is, I'm just going to click here. I like this. This is going to work for me. And I'm going to right click. So see what I'm doing here? I'm just going and moving my mouse, and I like that bullseye where it's located at. So I'm going to right click, and this time I'm going to create a null camera. Okay? Now this null camera means that it's this invisible shape that is there, and it's being tracked with the video in 3D, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our reflection layer here, and we're just going to use the parent pick whip, and we're going to parent it to this null layer, okay? So now, hopefully, when this plays out, it will be playing with that, okay? And you can find video tutorials on YouTube that talk about using null objects, null layers to help track things and move things around. It's really cool. Okay, so that's all we got to do for that now. There we go. All right, so The next thing we're going to do here is we've got the color corrections. We got everything there. We're going to make a rate. We need some drizzle. So we've got our puddles. We're almost done here. This tutorial doesn't take too long. There's a lot of elements to it, but they're much faster. So what I'm going to do is, and I'm trying to zoom. We'll zoom all the way out here. Let's go, and we're going to make. We'll click on the null layer here for a moment, and we're going to make a new solid. Okay, and this is very important here. So we're going to be adding these little ripples on the sidewalk to make it look like where the rain hits. And we're going to need to change the color of this. And what you're going to need to do is, under RGB, you'll need to change all these to 127. So you click on the R, and you type in 127, you type in the G, you type in 127, you type in here, and you get 127. The reason why is because you need a 50% gray, and that's how you get it, okay? And so we click OK there. The other thing I want to do is I want to make the width of this shape much longer, okay? And we don't need to go too crazy about that because we're going to be altering this anyway. We can make the height a little higher if we want to, but I'm not going to play with that. I'm just going to click OK. So we got this shape layer now. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Effect, and remember we were talking about trying to make the rain look like it was drizzling? Well, there's actually under Simulate, under Effect and Simulate, there is something called, I know it's right there, CC Drizzle. Well, CC Drizzle does this. It makes ripples. Okay. And those look okay, but we're going to need to move these back in space. So one thing we want to do is we want to turn this into a 3D layer. So make sure that you can see this little 3D box here, and click here. So now it makes it a 3D layer. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the x-axis and move it down. We're going to make our shape a little smaller here. Okay. And we're going to move this so it sits inside the sidewalks. We don't want to have it on the walls. It doesn't have to be perfect per se, but oops. Try and get to the X again. X-axis here. Move that over here. Move that down. And we're pretty close. I mean, it's a little off. Okay, I think we could live with this. You could play around with this a little bit more here as far as how this is situated. So let's go and turn this. We'll go over to their layer and right click, and we're going to change the layer style to the blending mode. I mean, not the layer style. So we're going to change the blending mode to overlay. So now when we play this, you see our ripples, and they're in back. They are setting at an angle that is sort of adjacent or parallel to the sidewalk. That's why we had to do it as a 3D layer. Okay, I'm letting this cycle through for a moment here because we're going to make some changes to this drizzle here. We'll move in closer here. And one of the things we're going to do is I'm going to play around with, let's look at light here. Okay. We've got ripple height. We're going to bring the ripple height down. Okay. We're going to bring the drip rate down a little bit and the longevity down. And then the rippling, let's see here. I think if we change this, does this change the angle of it? Displacement. Yeah, there's all kinds of things we could do with it. Our light direction. See, if we play with the light direction, you can change that, which I think helps tremendously, okay? And there's other things we can play around with. Light intensity we can bring down a little bit, so it's not so light. That looks a lot better, and we can still go back in here and alter things more. But I really think that this will do it for this tutorial here. So in the end, now we've got all of our changes, and we can move this little layer up under the reflection, up under the color adjustment layer, and even up under the one for rain, because this one does the rain coming down, and you can name these layers if you want to. This one does the color adjustment with the lumetri color. Okay, so I'm putting those ripples there for the moment, and I think we'll just call this completed. That's bugging me. I hate that. But anyway, so what we're going to have to do next is we'll save this. We should have saved it earlier as we were working on it, but we'll call this rain. And we're going to save this in our desktop and within our FX exercise tutorial folder. And we'll save it there like that. Then we're going to add to render queue. So we're going to go in and composition, add to render queue. Okay. Where it says lightning, we'll click on that. And we can change the name of this to FX exercise. You can put your name on it, because this is what you're going to be submitting for our exercise. Okay. And we don't have to put this one in the assets folder. So we'll do this on the desktop so we can find it. And then you're going to upload that, and this will complete our exercise, okay? I'm just waiting until it renders out. There we go. Okay.